legislative advocacy, and often mentors others about the value of connecting with their members of Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Diane Ramirez.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Okay. I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. I am a patient. I do have pulmonary arterial hypertension. I was diagnosed in 1987, and it took almost 3 years of complaining and testing for me to actually get the diagnosis. Originally, I was told the asthma that I had as a child had gotten worse, and I was put on a different set of asthma medicines. When that didn't work, the medicines were changed, and that was about 18 months later. And I still felt horrible. I was complaining. I just couldn't breathe, couldn't catch my breath. And my doctor sent me to a pulmonologist who did an echocardiogram, and he told me that I had a prolapsed mitral valve. So we went from asthma to prolapsed mitral valve and a whole different set of medications that did absolutely nothing as far as helping me. I had a great job of vibrant social life, and it was all slowly coming to a halt. And I was in my early 20s when this was happening. I finally went back to my doctor and complained again, and he told me I needed to take more time off from work, be patient, give the medication time, it doesn't happen overnight. So I did what he asked me to do, and it just wasn't working. I felt absolutely horrible, and I was really tired, and I was tired of feeling so unwell. Little things had become debilitating for me. Taking a shower, cooking would totally wipe me out. One day I was walking up the stairs to my apartment, and at that time I lived on the 3rd floor, which I would never do now. But I was walking up the stairs and I fainted, and I woke up in the emergency room. And there were many tests done after that, and finally I was given a cardiac catheterization. And that is when I was told I had pulmonary arterial hypertension. That was approximately 3 years after my initial complaint to my doctor that my breathing had gotten worse, that something was happening. There were no treatments available when I was diagnosed in 1987. There were no support groups, there were no treatments. The only viable option was a heart and double lung transplant. There were no PH centers. There weren't any PH specialists that you could go to. I was being cared for by the transplant team at a huge hospital in Connecticut. I was told if I did have a transplant, I would not be able to have children, and if I didn't have a transplant, I would be lucky if I lived 2 to 3 years. About 6 years after I was diagnosed, my younger brother was diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension. He was the first person that had PH. I had not met anybody else. And meeting a stranger that had pulmonary hypertension was another 4 years. So almost 10 years after I was diagnosed, it took, that long for me to actually meet someone else that had this illness. And so much has changed in the last 25 years. Today we have 9 treatments available, and they help. They're very challenging. They have, some of them have extreme side effects, and some of them are very costly. I'm currently on 2 medicines. I take pills twice a day, and I do an inhaled treatment 4 times a day. And these treatments have helped me tremendously. Some people say I have too much energy, and that's okay, I'll take it. My life is better, and I have the freedom to do the things that I once thought I would never be able to do because I have these treatments. most of the time I have good days, but you can talk to any patient in this room and they'll all tell you the same thing. We all have what we call PH days, and it's just days where I can't do anything. I need to just take it easy and rest. And sometimes I even wear oxygen just to give my heart a break because it's just a bad day and I need to just take it easy. One of the many perks that I've received in my life because of this illness, and yeah, there are perks to having pulmonary hypertension, has been that I've been given the opportunity to work with other patients that have pulmonary hypertension. And it has been enlightening. They have taught me about perseverance and faith. They give me hope. They have, met with me to meet with our reps and our senators, and we'll make a day of it and go out to lunch, and, just having time, and we support each other. And that's one of the greatest things, one of the greatest gifts that the PH community, that we can give each other this support. Dr. Berger talked about pulmonary hypertension being a burden. And it is. It's not easy. But what helps it become manageable is the support that I get from my fellow PH friends. They help me hold that load, that burden, and it doesn't feel as heavy because I have so many wonderful people in my life. When I talk about the PH community, it's not just patients. I'm talking about caregivers, the medical professionals that we deal with on a regular basis. And I'm talking about the PH Association. PHA, it's just a wonderful organization that has helped people affected by this illness. It has helped thousands of people. We're working closely with the medical community on research and education. We have started a new campaign. It's called Sometimes It's PH Campaign for Early Diagnosis. And this campaign will help patients get the diagnosis they need in a timely manner. Personally, I became involved back 6 years ago. I was at a conference and I had Professor Karen Carl Hicks give a speech. And he said, hope is a verb. And when he said that, I remember wanting to jump up and cheer him on. I just, just like, oh my God. I've never heard anyone speak about pulmonary hypertension with such passion and conviction. And it was contagious. And I wanted to put that hope into action ever since. I've always tried to spread awareness about pulmonary hypertension. But learning about the Talman bills has given me the information and the motivation to take it a step further, and has allowed me to put that hope into action for myself and to other people that I work with. Now, I share my story with you today because here we are, 25 years later, and it can still take patients 3 years to get diagnosed. And I have to say, personally, that really bothers me. I don't want anybody to go through what I went through 25 years ago. Patients are walking around with shortness of breath, they're dizzy, they're exhausted, and they're trying to get answers, and they can't get them. So we as a community, we need to spread awareness. We need to educate others. We need a cure. We really need a cure. And our bills support awareness and education and the research that can lead to a cure. So I encourage people all the time to meet with their members of Congress. I try to mentor them and help them in setting up their meetings and go to meetings all over when I'm able to. And I always tell them that one person can make a difference. So today I'm telling you the same thing. One person can change the life of a PHer. You, yourself, can help one person. So if you're a PHer, and a PHer is a term we use for patients that have pulmonary hypertension, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I thank you for coming out here to advocate and fight for a cure. And if you are a congressional staff person,
I ask you to please talk to your boss and ask them to co-sponsor the Tom Lanzos Pulmonary Hypertension Research and Education. Thank you.